Hi, Christy. Congratulations on being part of Chef Dynasty House of FANG. Tell us how you got the gig and what made you accept it.
Thank you so much. Well, through mutual friends, they were looking for recommendations for any servers or people in hospitality or with any type of live event background. And of course, being of Asian descent. So I'm very, very grateful for a good friend of mine who forwarded my resume and some of my work to Chef Kathy. And that's how it all happened. I really wasn't sure what I was getting into, but this has been such an amazing experience, a once in a lifetime opportunity. And the best part is that, we're an all Asian American cast and it's huge for representation. And so lucky to say that I am the only Filipina in the crew.
Wow, congratulations. And this is your first time to work in the restaurant industry, right? Was this how was the experience and what did it teach you?
Correct. This was my first time really working in a restaurant. I've worked private events. I worked on the production end of live events. So really, we always book a catering team. So yes, this was my first time in the restaurant, really in front of the customers, front of house and forward facing. But the funny story is, I've always wanted to be a server. When I got out of college, I kept interviewing for restaurant positions, but I just kept jumping into a full time opportunity in media and production. So it just never happened for me for some reason. And so when it came into the restaurant, I felt like, wow, this is in a very strange way what I've always wanted to do. And it felt very natural just to be able to, show people a good time. And of course, who doesn't love a great dining experience? And also, it was my first time really trying FANG before I started working at the restaurant. And I myself just fell in love with all of the dishes and to represent something where it's traditional, but with a little bit of a twist. So we were a little different.
Mhm. And how was it working with Chef Carrie and her husband, Peter?
So Chef Kathy is really one of a kind. She is the type of leader and boss where, excellence is standard. When you walk into work that day, and this is her famous quote, bring your A game every single day. So I would say that maybe it's a little bit stereotypical that Asians are overachievers, but but it's very fitting, and I think that she is somebody that does everything. She wants to greet, she wants to host, she wants to serve, and it really makes us as staff go above and beyond for her. And some things that you don't see on the show is that she is very caring and very generous. She always does her best to check in with us and to see how life is going. She genuinely wants to know what all of our goals are outside the restaurant, because I think she understands that when you're in hospitality, that may not be your end goal. We may not all be chefs or restaurant owners one day, but we're using this all as a stepping stone. And that's what I love about her. She really supports every single one of us and makes us feel like family. And when it comes to her father, Chef Peter Fang, oh, he is what you can imagine any awesome Asian Chinese father to be. He is serious at some points where it's like, oh, Peter's here, Dad's here. You let's make sure we're perfect. But also he again is so loving and compliments us every day, tells us we're doing a great job. And sometimes I don't think that you see those moments on the show, but it definitely feels like family in the restaurant.
That's great. Talk about your Filipino roots. Where does your parent come from? And are your siblings also in the entertainment industry?
Well, my mom is from Baguio City and my dad is from Pangasinan. So we are Ilocano. I
Oh,
was born in Torrance Carson area. So very Filipino, it was a quintessential Filipino upbringing. Went to the park to hang out with the Filipino community. Spent a lot of time just, at church events and things like that. And so it wasn't until because my dad was in the military. So he got transferred from Long Beach to the high desert in Barstow. So that was very different. We were definitely a minority once we moved there. Um, And so, it was really tough to leave the rest of my family, but a lot of my family are still in the Torrance Carson area. I'll be there next week, so I'm very excited to get back to my roots and back to my hometown. And as far as the entertainment business, no, I am the only one that really went in that direction. My brother is a school teacher. My older sister is in environmental sciences. And my younger sister is a cosmetologist. She does hair, which she she obtained those skills from my grandpa. My house was basically the neighborhood barber shop. So many Filipinos in the house all the time from morning to night playing pool. I was the official. I mean, I guess you would say I was serving since 5 years old. I would come out with, you know, all, all the food. I would serve them beer. But anyhow, it was very interesting, I think, for my parents to support my path because it has been a very long path for me. However, I'm very lucky because I do have an older cousin and who's a really strong mentor and longtime mentor of mine who was in news and broadcasting. She worked for Fox 11 News as an anchor and a reporter. So we spent a long time, or we spent a lot of time as a family watching her. And I just was like, wow, she is in the community. She's sharing other people's stories. I want to do that too. So I am so thankful for my cousin for, really leading that path and spearheading that for me. So my parents were able to understand, okay, if her manang can do it, then she can do it.
Yeah, and so from investigative journalism, you became a reality TV star. How was that jump, and what do you miss about your former career?
Well, in some ways, I sorry, excuse me. Um, in some ways, I still am tied to the investigative journalism industry. So I still do a lot of work as far as a content creator and spokesperson for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So I feel like it's always going to be part of me. I think that it's important to advocate for something. And for me, it's child safety. So it went from my career to now just passion. And, and to transition over to reality TV, I know that sometimes it may not really have the greatest reputation. However, I'm very grateful that I'm able to say my name on TV. Not a lot of people who really work their entire life in this industry are able to do so. And I'm able to be myself, represent who I am, my culture, my heritage. And it's been very different worlds. However, I think that really at the end of the day, to be on this show just provides a platform and an opportunity to speak more, to be able to share more, not only about like what I advocate for, but my true passions and being able to help people find what they can do outside of their career that's going to help others.
What was the most challenging assignment you got as a journalist, and what? How long were you a journalist?
I went to broadcast journalism. I mean, I studied broadcast journalism,
Yeah.
and as soon as I came out, so I want to say since 2010, I have been a journalist. My most challenging project, I think, at an earlier age, in my early 20s, I was in investigative journalism. So I was in the missing division at America's Most Wanted. So I was making a lot of calls to families who had missing children. And it was tough. It really weighed on me a lot, especially as a young professional. I kind of always saw myself in the entertainment world doing things that were a little bit lighter. So I had to learn very early on how to have thick skin, how to remain empathetic with these families, but also at the end of the day, it really wasn't my decision whether we were going to profile their case or not. It was always up to our executive producers. And I think that's what I really had the hardest time with. But before leaving America's Most Wanted, I always share this story. The very first piece that I ever produced for national television on America's Most Wanted, it was 15 seconds long, just 15 seconds. It was called 15 Seconds of Shame, where we profile, let's say an abductor, a child molester of some sort. It aired, I believe, twice on the episode, and it resulted in an arrest. So he was captured and taken off the streets, and that's how I knew, like, wow, what I do as a profession can really make an impact on society. From there, with that experience, I got taken over to entertainment, and that was really my dream job, was to work in the building. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to meet Ryan Seacrest. And I was in the Investigates series, an True Hollywood Story. So even then, I was able to profile cases that may have not been mainstream entertainment news, but it was on a mainstream entertainment platform. So at least it was getting that moment of airtime, in the same place of, let's say, where the Kardashians and Taylor Swift were getting airtime. And that was really meaningful to me.
And you are also a beauty queen, a pageant director, and a coach. How did you get involved with pageantry?
Well, of course, being raised Filipina, we have just a very amazing fascination and obsession with pageantry. My older cousin, who I mentioned earlier, Angeline, was also a beauty queen. She was in a lot of local pageants, and she was always the only Asian woman on stage. I remember that they had to bring on junior escorts on the stage. They always had to hold hands with a little girl. I was always her little girl, her little partner on stage. That was my first experience on stage. That was my first time really being in front of a crowd. And that's when I knew, I was like, wow, I want to really do this one day. However, being one of 4 kids, my parents didn't really have a lot of extra money to do that. So I funded and paid for that myself when I did the Miss America organization, because I wanted to get scholarship money for college to go to USC. I didn't win, and that's okay. I got in the top 5, but it was a big growth experience, which I think is what pageantry is. Women are able to really get down to the bottom of who they are, how they're going to represent themselves to really attack their goals. And then I didn't come back into pageantry because I was so busy with my career until my late 20s, because I was in a really tough place. I think I felt a little bit lost at the time. It was post-divorce. And I was like, you know what, let me go back to something that made me feel really good about myself. I was already 29 years old. So I was already past the age limit that, of the women that you see on TV. But there were so many amazing opportunities for me. And from there, I kept competing. Thankful to God that I kept having opportunities to win titles, going from state to nationals to international. So that's where I felt like, oh, okay, the universe is telling me this is where I need to be. This is something that I always wanted to do as a child. And now it's my chance to give back to the younger girls that want that opportunity as well.
And you are currently the title holder for MS, or Miss USA Universe, and you will start competing next August. So why did you join this contest mainly?
I joined this contest because this focuses on the Ms. division. So as I mentioned, I'm a little bit older. I have aged out of the MISS. I am divorced as well. So I don't really qualify for the Miss division. But for the Ms. Universe pageant, it really focuses on accomplished women around the world. We had to fill out a pretty intense application as far as our accolades and achievements. So just qualifying for it was an accomplishment within itself. And so with this organization, 2 years ago, I won their Ms. World America Petite title. And so the director said, we also are going to do a Ms. USA Universe competition in extension of Miss Universe that you see televised on TV. And again, I was like, my whole life, I wanted to be Miss Universe. Maybe I'm not going to be MISS Universe, but I can be Ms. Universe. So I said, absolutely, yes. It's never too late. And I think that's really the theme with this pageant organization. It is never too late. You can be at any age. And if you have the desire to do more and to help others, to give back to your community, there's still a place to do that. And that is the Ms. Universe organization.
Congratulations. And the Miss Universe franchise is really about more than beauty, but empowered women. And what kind of advocacies are you, promoting your platforms? Share with us.
I've had multiple platforms. I advocate for domestic violence survivors and ending domestic violence as a survivor. And then we've also talked about child safety. For me, it's all about the next generation. If we're not caring about the next generation and their livelihood, then what else are we doing? So those are the really big things for me, is helping women get out of very dangerous situations and transitioning out of domestic violence and or trafficking. I used to host donation drives for Shaw Women's House out of Long Beach. And that was a home that helped women transition into a normal life, very similar to what Miss Universe Arbany Gabriel does with fashion. And then, as far as children go, I just do my very best to keep us safe. I'm also an advocate just for women in general. I work in the industry. There's a lot of dangerous factors there. I've done self-defense workshops. I learned the basics, so it's a very miscongeniality, but I also work in Las Vegas and hospitality. So women have to do their best to remain aware and keep safe. And so those are my three biggest things: children's safety, helping women transition out of dangerous situations, and to keep women safe, especially those in the entertainment industry.
So when coaching and training these girls, what do you advise them in order to win or just to improve themselves?
There's so much. Well, I start at the basics. I start with them when it comes to goal setting. I teach them how to set goals. Obviously, the big goal is to maybe walk away with a sash and crown. That would be amazing. But the real takeaway from any pageant is self-growth, as we mentioned. So, I try to get very specific with them. What do you want to get out of this experience? Do you want to be a better model? Do you want to get better at interviewing skills? Do you want to polish up your resume? Do you want to get better at networking? So I make them think of 3 very specific goals so that I know, and that's really my guarantee as a coach. I'm like, I promise you these 3 goals, you are going to accomplish that. So whether they walk away with a crown or not, I know that they're able to walk away a greater human than when they started. And to get there, I practice a lot of journaling with them and a lot of one-on-one time, because the part that you don't see in pageantry is the interview room. So I do a lot of interviews with them. I send them a lot of writing prompts, and a lot of what the interview is just, I tell them, I was like, it's like your tita. Okay. You're going into the room and you're going to talk to your older cousin or your tita or your mom's friend, and they're just getting to know you. That's it. So I think with journaling, it's a way for you to be able to verbalize and translate your thoughts, ideas, goals onto paper so that it's easier to relay that to somebody else.
And so with your career as a reality TV star, how do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Oh, wow. Well, I hope that this opportunity gives me a chance to hopefully be able to host my own show one day and to be able to produce my own series one day. I've always said that I've dreamed of doing a reality show for the pageant world, very similar to, let's say, American Idol or America's Next Top Model, but going into an actual live pageant. I would love to also hopefully one day be able to host my own travel show. I've never even been to the Philippines. So I hope that this opportunity can give me a place where I can just continue to find appreciation for the world, food, culture, seeing differences, seeing diversity, growing up American versus any other place in the world. So maybe 5 years from now, it could be, YOLO with CeeLo around the world, eating food, hanging out with the locals. But we shall see. I just pray to God every day that something really cool could happen.
So when do you plan to go to the Philippines, and what do you plan to do there when you get there?
Well, I've just reconnected with a lot of my family because one of my closest aunties just passed away. So I would love to just go to my mom's hometown in Baguio City because they show me pictures and everything. I want to start there. So I'm hoping that that's this year. I told myself in my New Year's resolutions, my biggest thing is to save money, start investing, and travel. So hopefully it's January. Maybe I can make that happen within the next few months.
So do you speak Tagalog? Oh no.
No, unfortunately, I only know maraming salamat po and say hello. But you know what? I've had to read scripts before on the when I travel for auto shows. I have to read the scripts, and so of course the whole Filipino community, all the guests come to me and they start talking. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, you guys. I only know the script. That's it.
And where's your father in Pangasinan? Because my husband is also from Pangasinan.
Oh wow. Oh, I'm not sure. Out in the provinces. He's from he is a country boy. Lived on the farm. My dad still has a farm now with a few goats and a few chickens out in the high desert in Victorville. I'm not 100% sure. So yes, maybe I need to go there too.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations on your new gig, and more power to you.
Oh, salamat po. Thank you so much. This has been an
Salamat.
awesome time hanging out with you.
Yes. Hope to see you in person soon.
I hope so too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.